Mr. Eli Cohen, Minister of Energy in Israel, can you tell us what happened in Doha, in the talks of the hostages, the Israeli hostages in Gaza? Is there any development in these talks in Doha?
There is progress in the negotiations, but there are details that have not yet been agreed upon. Hamas understands that Israel is determined to recover all 100 hostages. The negotiations are being conducted under fire. Hamas is receiving blows and understands that there is no one to save it. Not Hezbollah, not Nasrallah, who is in hell, not Iran, nor anyone else. Additionally, in exactly 2 weeks, President Trump is expected to take office, which will mean increased international support for Israel. I am sending a message to Hamas. Anyone who harms the hostages will be held accountable. All the heroes of Hamas who posted pictures on October 7th while assaulting Israeli citizens will be held accountable one by one. We have everything documented. The same applies to anyone who harms the hostages. They will be held accountable.
Now, can we say that there is we are close to a solution to this issue of the hostages?
There is a narrowing of gaps. Ultimately, in my estimation, the matter depends on Mohammed Sinwar. The Sinwar family has brought disaster to Gaza, where there are evacuees and displaced people who have witnessed the strength of the Israeli army. The state of Israel can be surprised, but it cannot be defeated.
Can you tell us when this war will end in Gaza?
When 2 main conditions are achieved, when the hostages are returned, and when Hamas leaders lay down their weapons and leave the Gaza Strip.
You will accept that the Hamas leaders will leave Gaza and not to kill them?
Anyone who killed Israelis will be held accountable. If they want Gaza to take a new direction, they must understand 2 things. The hostages must be returned, and Hamas must not control Gaza the day after.
But we see that Hamas can launch missiles, rockets to Israel till now. After 1 year and 2-3 months, they are still attacked Israel. How this war can be, how can you win in this war?
The outcome of the war is clear. The state of Israel is superior. All the senior Hamas leaders have been assassinated. The division commanders, Al-Daif and Sinwar, have been eliminated. Hamas infrastructure, including its terrorist infrastructure, has been destroyed. They have seen Israel's strength and know that Israel can enter anywhere in Gaza and any time. They can no longer fire hundreds or thousands of rockets toward Israel. The October 7th attack was suicide for Hamas.
But we see that they are also kill soldiers in Gaza. Every 3 days, they kill 1 or 2 or 3 soldiers. Are you accept that? You will stay there and accept that your soldiers will be killed by the Hamas people?
We have brave and heroic soldiers and commanders. While our leaders and soldiers are on the front lines, Hamas leaders are hiding like rats. Mohammed Sinwar and others are too afraid to show their faces. We are there. For us, women and children are in the rear while we fight. For them, they use women and children as shields for terrorists and attackers.
How much time you will stay in Gaza after after the hostages issue will be solved? Did Israel plan to stay in Gaza more time than you are there?
The state of Israel can act in Gaza against any attempt to revive terrorism and against any attempt to produce weapons.
Even if it's after the day after?
We will not allow a reorganization of terrorism. Ultimately, the Muslim Brotherhood axis threatens not only Israel, but also other countries in the region. We have brought the Shia axis, led by Iran, to its weakest point since 1979. Hamas has been harmed, Hezbollah has been harmed, and Nasrallah is no longer with us. As a result of Israel's actions, the Assad regime has collapsed. We are working against Iran. The Shia axis is hence at its lowest point. We are proving one thing: whoever raises their hand against Israel will have it cut off.
Will you accept the Palestinian Authority walking in Gaza the day after?
The Palestinian Authority continues to encourage incitement in its educational curricula. If you read the textbooks of the Authority, you will see that they glorify murderers. This is not a way to reach agreements with us. Even President Biden has said that the Authority needs serious reforms, and this issue will become even more prominent during Trump's term.
If they will make changes in the Palestinian Authority, are they will go and work in Gaza the day after? You accept that as Israel?
I believe we will first need to see a transitional period, with the presence of international forces such as the United States, Europe, and moderate Muslim countries. We want to live in peace and happiness with our neighbors in Egypt, Jordan, and the Gulf countries. We also have common interests against extremist Islamist jihadist elements and Iran's agendas. Iran is like cancer. Every country it has intervened in has been harmed. It has destroyed Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen, and it is affecting Iraq as well. Other countries want Iran distant from it because, wherever it is present, it works against their interests. In Jordan, the dream now is to rid themselves of Iranian interferences because they have seen what happened in Lebanon, where the economy was destroyed and people's lives were harmed.
You mentioned Iran. Will Israel attack Iran, the nuclear program?
Israel pledges that Iran will not possess nuclear weapons. I believe that an international coalition led by the United States must act against Iran, and if they do not, Israel will. Ultimately, Iran is a country that denies human rights to its people.
You already attacked in Iran. You can repeat that?
We have proven that we can reach any location in the Middle East, even over 2,000 kilometers away from Israel, with accurate intelligence and significant capabilities. Preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons is not only in Israel's interest, but also in the interest of the world and the entire region. I am fully aware of what the Islamic countries surrounding Iran think. I am in contact with my colleagues, the foreign ministers. They are wary of Iran.
You mean Bahrain and UAE?
I won't mention specific names, but all Islamic countries surrounding Iran want Israel to win its war against the Muslim Brotherhood and in its confrontation with Iran. This is what all countries want. Israel is the only country capable of acting and fighting. This is an international and regional interest. Our vision for the future includes the resumption of peace agreements, such as the Abraham Accords with the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco. We see tourism flourishing between these countries, trade agreements being signed, cooperation increasing, and regional stability strengthening. We think that the relationship is ongoing and continuous. I believe that Trump's era will be a time of clarity in addressing Iran. It will be a time when regional stability could advance and peace agreements could be expanded.
Do you think that Saudi Arabia now want to continue the negotiation and the talks with a normalization with Israel without solution to the Palestinian issue?
First, Saudi Arabia must focus on its citizens. The threat to Saudi Arabia does not come from Israel. Israel could be a partner to Saudi Arabia. The threat facing Saudi Arabia comes from Iran. Therefore, an international coalition led by the United States and moderate nations would primarily benefit Saudi Arabia in addressing these threats. We have the potential to achieve peace with the entire Sunni Muslim world, including Saudi Arabia.
Can Israel make peace with Saudi Arabia without any development in the Palestinian issue?
I say, if we consider Saudi Arabia's perspective, its primary interest is stability in the Middle East. Wherever Israel is not present, jihadists and Iran's influence take hold. For example, Israel withdrew from Gaza. And what happened? The Hamas government, a terrorist state, took control. Iranian influence took hold. The residents of Gaza did not get democracy, human rights, or a better standard of living. Their quality of life significantly declined.
Yes, but I ask you about Saudi Arabia, not about Gaza, not about any place. What happened in Syria now when those organizations, the Muslims, jihadist organizations now control Syria? What do you think as Israel? It's, you know, it's something that make you very, you know, can this influence in Israel?
We are monitoring what is happening in Syria. First of all, we want to defend our towns. We clearly tell all parties there that we will address any attempts to transfer weapons to Lebanon from Iran or Iraq or Syria. There's no doubt that the current rulers of Syria have a very controversial background, as they include former Islamist jihadists and former Al-Qaeda members. It remains to be seen whether they will attempt to go back to their old ways. The world will be evaluating them, and Israel will also do so. I advise them not to test Israel or defy it. We are a country that wants good neighborliness. Anyone who seeks to harm or threaten Israel will end up like Sinwar and Nasrallah.
Will Israel withdraw from the places that you occupied from the Syrian land?
We are present there to ensure the safety of our residents, and we want to see where Syria is heading. When we see that its direction respects the ceasefire agreements of 1974, and when we ensure the security of our northern residents, then and only then we will move forward.
There is talks that Israel support the Kurds and the Druze in Syria. It's true? Are you supporting those people?
First of all, we have good relations with the Druze around the world and, of course, in Israel. The Druze in Israel are our brothers and allies, and we have a very good relationship with them in Israel. Israel also has a historically good and a close relationship with the Kurds.
Are you planning to make with them something in Syria, autonomy or something like that, or you are waiting for their decisions?
We believe in preserving all communities and ensuring that no harm comes to the Kurds and Druze. They should not be harmed, and we have a close relationship with these groups. It is essential to protect minorities, and this is an expectation from anyone involved in Syria.
And what about Lebanon? What will be with this ceasefire? Will end in 2 or 3 weeks. And after that, is Israel will stay there, or will Israel will go to the border?
Israel insists on the implementation of the agreement and expects the Lebanese government and other parties involved to respect it. They must ensure that Hezbollah withdraws behind the Litani River and that Hezbollah does not infiltrate the Lebanese army. Israel has fulfilled its mission, and the Lebanese people now have an opportunity to regain their country. So far, Hezbollah has done nothing good for Lebanon. It has only acted in favor of Iran. Hezbollah does not take orders from Beirut. It takes orders directly from Tehran. Lebanon used to be the Paris of the Middle East in the 1980s, and we wanted to return to that. We have no quarrel with Lebanon or any problems over these issues. This is their opportunity to cut off the axis with Iran and make Lebanon a country for the Lebanese. That is the goal. And in the future, we can live as good neighbors with them.
After 60 days of this ceasefire agreement, Israel will go out from Lebanon to the border?
There is an agreement, and there are conditions within the agreement that must be implemented. Among them is ensuring that Hezbollah does not infiltrate the Lebanese army and that there are no attempts by Hezbollah to maintain combat equipment in areas near Israel while ensuring Hezbollah's withdrawal behind the Litani River. They must respect the agreement. If they do, we will see how things go from there.
Mr. Cohen, are you worried from that your photo is a target of the Houthi?
I don't appear to you to be worried. I feel very secure in Israel. We do not only have the best offensive capabilities in the world, but also some of the best defensive capabilities globally. The one who should be worried is Abdul Malik al-Houthi. If he continues down this path, he will end up exactly like Nasrallah and Sinwar.
Can Israel do it?
Israel has proven it can reach anyone, anywhere. We have reached places far more complex than Yemen.
But the Houthi they are working with Iran, for Iran. Why didn't you go to Iran instead going all the time to the Houthi and make strikes there and attack them once a week or 2 weeks?
As long as we do not deal with the head of the snake, which is Iran, there will be no stability in the Middle East. It is important to note that we have no conflict with the Iranian people. Israel had good relations with Iran until 1979. I believe that one day there will be relations between Israel and the people of Iran. We have no conflict with them. Our conflict is with the Iranian leadership, the extremist Islamist leadership that harms people, infringes on human rights, destabilizes the Middle East, and works against Israel. Iran must understand that it must abandon its nuclear weapons plans and stop funding terrorist organizations. Iran must focus on Iran. We see that the Iranian people have no future, no prospects, and low living standards. The per capita income in Israel is 10 times that of Iran. Those who focus on their own country and relations with the West achieve a better standard of living. Learn from Israel.
Mr. Cohen, I want to ask you something else. When you were a foreign minister, you met the foreign minister of Libya, Mrs. Najla al-Manqoush. Can you tell us about this meeting, why and how, and what you discussed with her?
The meeting's purpose was to improve Libya's relations with the West. That was the goal of the meeting. We have no conflict with Libya. There are many Jews in Israel who are from Libya, and they would be happy to visit their country. Therefore, we have no conflict with Libya. It is in Libya's interest to open up to the West. Otherwise, it will continue drowning in its internal crises.
Mr. Cohen, thank you very much.